Quick Flicks presents Mongol, the Rise of Genghis Khan. The story begins in the year 1172, where a kingdom is shown with many small tribes. These tribes are constantly at war with each other. Among these tribes, the chief of one tribe is searching for a girl for his son, Temujin, who is only 11 years old, so that he can arrange his marriage. To find a suitable girl, he visits the tribe of a friend, where he meets his friend. Here, Temujin meets a girl named Bote. Bote asks him, "What have you come here for?" Temujin replies, "I have come to find a bride for myself." Bote then says, "Then you should marry me," and walks away. The next morning, several girls are presented before Temujin so that he can choose one. He selects Bote, and they are then married. However, according to the traditions of the tribe, the couple can only live together 5 years after marriage, since they are still very young. Before leaving, Temujin gives Bote a locket and says, "I will return to you soon." After that, he leaves with his father and their companions. The journey is long, so they stop at a place to rest. Nearby, another tribe is also resting. The people of that tribe send a bowl of milk for Temujin's father as a sign of friendship. Temujin's father reciprocates by sending a bowl of milk in return. Later, when Temujin's father is about to drink the milk, one of his companions advises him to let someone else taste it first. However, Temujin's father ignores the warning and drinks the milk entirely, hoping to gain the trust of the other tribe. As soon as he rides his horse forward, he suddenly falls off and dies. This means that the milk was poisoned. Now, all of Temujin's father's men abandon his body and flee to save their own lives. Meanwhile, his lieutenant takes control of all his animals and people and declares himself the new leader. This enrages Temujin's mother, and she declares, "One day, my son will grow up and take revenge on you." The lieutenant is frightened by this because he knows it might happen, so he decides that he must kill Temujin. However, there is a tradition that women and young children are not killed. To determine this, they measure Temujin against a wheel. If he's taller than it, he will be executed. Since Temujin is smaller than the wheel, he's spared. But before leaving, the lieutenant declares, "I will return next year and kill Temujin." Now, Temujin has only 1 year, because by the next year he will be taller than the wheel. He must escape to save his life. In the freezing cold, Temujin sets out on his journey. He recalls his father's words, telling him about sacred temples in the mountains, where the gods would protect them. To escape, Temujin must cross a frozen lake. However, as he is crossing, the ice breaks, and he plunges into the freezing water. Just before he drowns, a young boy arrives and rescues him, taking him along. There, another boy, his brother, is also present. They offer Temujin a bowl of milk, mixing their own blood into it, and say, "Drink this." Temujin drinks it, after which they declare, "Now, you're our blood brother. We are 3 brothers now." Time passes, and several months go by. Then one day, the lieutenant finds Temujin again. He captures him and takes him back. Once again, Temujin's height is measured against the wheel, but he's still too small. The lieutenant decides that he will never let Temujin go until he grows bigger. He keeps Temujin as a prisoner, placing a wooden yoke around his neck at all times. However, there is one man who secretly cares for Temujin, feeding him, tending to his wounds, and watching over him. In reality, this man hopes that Temujin will escape, but it is nearly impossible due to constant surveillance. The lieutenant measures Temujin's height multiple times, but he remains too short. Then one day, a heavy storm strikes, and everyone retreats into their tents. That night, the kind man finally gets his chance. He frees Temujin and tells him, "Run away from here." Temujin seizes the opportunity and escapes. After running for miles, Temujin reaches the sacred mountains where the temples of the gods stand. Just as his father once told him, he begins living there. As time passes, 14 years go by, and now Temujin has grown into a man. But even now, he is running away in fear of the lieutenant's men who are chasing him. Many years later, Temujin is once again captured and taken prisoner, just like in his childhood. The lieutenant approaches him and says, "Beg me for your life." But Temujin looks straight into his eyes and says, "Even if I die, I will never beg you for my life." Hearing this, the lieutenant becomes furious and says, "Now I will make you suffer." He then begins torturing Temujin. One night, while the entire tribe is celebrating, the lieutenant, drunk, comes to Temujin. Temujin takes advantage of the situation, suddenly attacks him, and kills him. Then he immediately escapes from there. After escaping, the first place he goes is to the girl to whom he had given his locket as a child. This is the same girl he was supposed to marry, Bote. Then he returns to his mother and sister and starts living happily with his family. But one day, another tribe attacks them and takes Bote away. When the chief of this tribe was a child, Temujin's father had attacked his tribe and taken his mother captive. At that time, the young boy had sworn that when he grew up, he would take revenge. Now, He has taken Temujin's wife, Borte, captive. Temujin desperately wants to get his wife back, but he neither has a large army nor the strength to fight the chief and his tribe. So he seeks help from his childhood blood brothers who had once saved his life. One of them says, "We cannot fight that tribe. They are too powerful. We need a year to prepare." Temujin agrees, and for the next year they train relentlessly. Eventually, Temujin and his army become strong enough to fight. They attack the tribe and win the battle. But when Temujin reaches Borte, he finds out that she's now carrying the chief's child. Temujin is heartbroken, but because he truly loves Borte, he accepts her. After winning the battle, he distributes all the looted wealth among his people. Seeing this, the conquered tribe's people join him. Now, Temujin has his own powerful tribe, and people start following him wholeheartedly. However, his blood brother grows jealous. One day, his brother's men steal Temujin's horses, and Temujin's men shoot an arrow at one of the fleeing thieves, only to realize it was Temujin's elder blood brother. Enraged, the younger brother vows revenge. He gathers all the neighboring tribes to launch a massive attack on Temujin. Knowing he might lose, Temujin sends all the women and children to safety. He then faces his enemies with a small army. This time, however, Temujin loses. He is captured but not killed. Instead, he's handed over to another tribe, which takes him to a city to be sold as a slave. For days, no one buys him. Then one day, a king arrives, purchases Temujin, and locks him in a cage in the center of the city, where people laugh at him and mock him. In this city, there was also a Buddhist monk who frequently visited Temujin and talked to him. After several conversations, the monk realized that Temujin had immense potential. He became convinced that one day Temujin would achieve something great. One day, Temujin handed his locket to the monk. This was the same locket he had given to his wife, Borte, when they were children. Temujin asked the monk, "Can you deliver this to my wife?" The monk replied, "I will, but promise me that when you conquer this place, you will not harm our people." Temujin promised that he would keep his word. After that, the monk set out on a journey to find Borte. After months of traveling, he died while passing through a dense forest. However, fate was on Temujin's side, because coincidentally, Borte arrived at the same place. She found the monk's body and discovered Temujin's locket in his hands. Seeing this, she understood that Temujin was still alive. Borte then traveled to the city where Temujin was being held as a prisoner. She bribed a guard and managed to free Temujin, taking him with her. Now, Temujin was once again reunited with his wife and children among his people. Everything seemed peaceful. One day, Borte said to him, "All leaders are the same. They oppress their own people." Hearing this, Temujin realized that he must build a great empire where people would not suffer under oppression. So he left his family and set out on a mission. He traveled from tribe to tribe, uniting them into a powerful army. He made all the tribal leaders take an oath. No one would harm women or children. No one would betray their leader. They would fight together until their last breath. By 1196, Temujin had built a formidable army. However, he was still not a king because one more powerful army stood against him, and it belonged to his own brother. Temujin did not want to fight his brother, but he had no other choice. A fierce battle took place between the two armies, and Temujin emerged victorious. However, instead of executing the captured soldiers from his brother's army, he did something unusual. He welcomed them into his own ranks. Previously, captured soldiers were usually killed. He also spared his brother, setting him free instead of taking him as a prisoner. By 1206, Temujin had become the ruler of the entire Mongol Empire. From that moment on, he was known as Genghis Khan. Later, Genghis Khan went on to conquer vast territories and rule much of the known world. However, history records him as a ruthless ruler who massacred thousands, even millions of innocent people. A dark chapter in human history. And that was the complete story of the movie Mongol. I hope you enjoyed it.